Hello, amazing investors, entrepreneurs. I wanted to get you to think about something really crucial that comes up over and over with my clients, and it goes something like this. When I achieve success, I will feel free, or I'll be free, or I'll be happy, or I'll be connected with my family, or I'll be present, or I'll be at peace. And when I when I'm successful in business, and there's no clear, usually they're not clear as to what that looks like. But even if they are clear, let's say when I get to $10 million a year, great. Then I'll feel free. Then I'll be able to be there for my family. I'll be able to be happy. I'll be able to take care of myself. I'll be able to do all that stuff. There's one big major flaw, actually two big major flaws in that belief system that a lot of high achievers, entrepreneurs, investors carry with them. And it's not just like a statement, it's an internal, for most people, it's a subconscious belief. They're not even aware of it, but even if they are aware of it, they have convinced themselves that it's true. It works. Here's what happens. This doesn't just stay in your mind. It creates the internal foundation of how you operate day to day with yourself, with your family, with those around you. And I'll share a couple of stories from my clients. I had a client that came to me. I had worked with him for a couple of sessions when he was part of a program where I spoke. I usually speak in different communities and do sessions there. And he had gotten value from it. I never heard from him after that, but 4 years later, he messaged me. He had just begun his investing career and he built a business and everything. And he was actually fairly successful. He reached out to me 4 years later, and he was actually looking for a different level, another level of support. And I asked him, what is it about? And he said, you know what, I've done very well in my business. There are areas of struggle, but there are some struggles I have that I don't know how to work through, or I want to get better at it. I'm like, okay, let's get on a call. Now we jumped on a call. And as soon as we jumped on a call, I could tell from his energy the weight that he was carrying. It wasn't just the weight of business. And business is challenging all the time, and I get it. And he wasn't doing as well as he said he was. He was doing well. But because the foundations were broken, even in business, he didn't feel very fulfilled or very successful. His relationship, his marriage, and his marriage broken for years. And his thought process is very similar to other entrepreneurs and anybody else on a success path as well. Well, I've sacrificed so much for this family, for my life, and I work and I've built a business, but nothing is enough. But that wasn't the problem. And then on top of that, their child had a severe illness that was coming up. And they didn't know how to work together. The worst part was that he didn't even care about the business at that point because he needed to support the child, and he didn't even know how to work close with his spouse. And they had to work as a team. And one of the main reasons he reached out to me is, how do I deal with that? And we worked through that. We realized a lot of holes and gaps in his business as well. But for the most part, I helped him bridge the gap between him and his wife, and they were able to support their child. And thankfully, they're actually in a much better state than they were before. Like, this is like that kind of growth is, you can even consider it sort of like a miracle. And I had another client. I'll share one short story and this was the beginning of him starting out. And he's like, yeah, when my wife and I, we built our portfolio to this point, then we're going to start traveling, go to the Far East. They wanted to go to lots of places like Thailand and those kind of areas. And they wanted to spend time with their kids. Now, here was the problem. The problem was that their kids were already 6, 7, 8 years old, and it's going to take another 10 years to do this. And it's not like they had much time. It's like constant work and going from one thing to another. Even with kids, they're just taking them from one activity to the next. There's not really, and this is the big mistake parents make. They just keep putting them in activities. While that's useful to some degree, but when are they spending time with you as a family? Whose values are they adapting? Are they adapting the government's, daycares, the other people's values, or you as a family? And how are they going to adapt those values if they're never around you? And that's the challenge with, by the time kids hit teenage years, they don't actually know their values, the values of their family, their culture. All they know is what the school system has taught them. And investors and entrepreneurs know very well that it's not the best place to be at for you to have a great future, especially in the modern time, because they teach you almost everything the opposite of how business works, how life works, and how collaboration and working with others work. not saying all of education system is negative, but especially if you want your kids to be free, aligned, well adjusted, they at least at the minimum they need to have exposure from you as an entrepreneur, from your family values, culture, not be completely brainwashed by the school system. So it doesn't completely overpower. Now, here's the challenge. By the time they finish building their portfolio 10 years later, the kids are in middle to late teenage years. They're not going to want to spend time with them, and they didn't even think about that. And even if they did, like, they don't want to get up when their roots are set up. They have friends, they have a whole ecosystem that they grew up in. Now all of a sudden you're ripping them out of that and going all sorts of places. My kids are little, we travel with them everywhere, and they have a blast with us. One of the reasons we do this is because we have so much fun with them, because they want to go and see, and they're building relationships in different places that we go to, we come back. So, but it's early on in their life. If we did that later on, that'd be a little bit of a problem. But we're doing this early on as I'm building my business and pretty much doing everything. And so I want to come back to the point that I started with before these stories, that most entrepreneurs, investors, they hope that when they hit the success in business, when they hit the success in their portfolio, when they get to some random area of success, they will get engaged with their life. But that's not how life works. Life doesn't wait for you. Your relationships don't wait for you. Your well-being doesn't wait for you. You need to create freedom now. And most people who think like this is because they've been given this idea of living in the future. It doesn't work like that. I am big on creating goals, strategic goals, but most people don't start with a vision, and a vision is the only thing that works in the future and present at the same time. If you haven't built a real vision, not a vision board, a real vision that connects you to your future that you're building 10 years out, but it gets you to start living that future or major parts of that future now. So as an example, if your future looks like you're going to be engaged and present with your family, you're going to make the effort to make it happen now, not make excuses about, oh, I'm busy at work, or I have too many thoughts in my head. That's your job to figure out in your mind. Your kids don't understand that. Your family doesn't understand that. It's your job to communicate what you're working on. It's your job to carve out and set boundaries that will help you to show up better in your life. Now, there are so many ways to do this, but if you don't have a clear vision, you're just following other people's goals. That's as a starting point. But I'm running a workshop on, I think it's next week at this point, 29th of January at 9 a.m. Thursday. I'll put the link below. It's based on my upcoming book that's going to be coming out in the next couple of months. Freedom Isn't Free, a guide for high achievers who looks successful on paper but feel trapped inside. And what I'm sharing here is the trap part, that so many investors and entrepreneurs I meet, they feel trapped by the success they've created. They don't know how to navigate it. Success is not a problem anymore. They have a problem with fulfillment. They have a problem with connection. They have a problem with creating the quality of life that matters. And they keep lying to themselves that when I get there, I'll create it. That's not how life works. And I hope at the least you take this message and really pay attention to what's going on in your life, not delay it for some random future. And that's assuming you'll live for another 10 years. Statistically, yes, but a lot of things can happen. Now, that doesn't mean don't stop doing the things that you're doing. I'm driven. I do a lot of things for my business. I have multiple businesses. But there are other parts of my life that are incredibly important, and they create a sense of freedom for me a lot more than business a lot of times. My sense of peace, my connection with my family, my spiritual life, who I am, my growth, those things are just as important as my business. And they're all interconnected. I don't look at my business as separate. They're integrated. If you don't have that, then you have disconnected parts of your life that you're either feeling guilty around, you feel shameful, you don't know what to do, you're overwhelmed, overthinking, all that stuff. If you want to deal with those things and create a better concept of life and a better way to approach your life in a systematic way that doesn't sacrifice yourself, your relationships, and your spiritual path and purpose for the sake of a business, then jump on this workshop with me. Super excited to serve you. It'll be about 2.5 hours. We'll have 15 minutes of networking as well with other entrepreneurs and investors, and the rest will be dedicated to you to serve you fully. And please share any insights you might have until my next conversation. Hope you have a great day. Bye.